Hello and welcome to Pickleball Therapy, the podcast dedicated to pickleball improvement. Happy New Year to you. Hope you're having a great 2023 so far. We are back in the saddle, doing the podcast, doing the YouTubies. CJ and I are doing camps this week, next week, and the following week in Tampa. So we're back in full gear and hope you're doing well as well and made it through the holidays all right. This week, I'm excited to talk about a couple of subjects that I think you're going to enjoy. First, I'm going to talk about gatekeeping. And gatekeeping here is a really important concept that you need to apply to yourself and to your journey and to your experience. It has to do with agency and has to do with how you bring knowledge into your game or information into your game and into your life. And it's particularly important given all of the information that you're hearing out there these days, all of the quote-unquote noise that's happening. And trust me, it's going to keep on getting more and more. You're going to see more videos, more newsletters, more emails, more everything. And so gatekeeping is going to be more and more important, become more and more important to you. Talk about that. And then in the riff, we're going to talk about achievability. That is a concept that I think we overlook as coaches. CJ and I try and impart that to our students and players just in general, right? The achievability of improvement and of having a more well-rounded and complete, if you will, relationship with pickleball. And so I want to talk about that in the riff and give you some tips on achievability. And before I do, I want to mention to you, if you're listening to this near its time of release on January 6th, I believe. But yeah, January 6th is when it releases. We have a pickleball system class starting soon, like right now, in about a week or so. So if you want to get into the next pickleball system class, you need to act soon. If that's something that's important to you and something that you want to commit to, get involved with the pickleball system now. You can go to thepickleballsystem.com and you can find out more there on how to get involved with our next class for the pickleball system. You cannot buy pickleball system like it's not a video, right? Like you just buy it and you get it and you put it on your shelf or something like that. This is a class that CJ and I curate and that we oversee. So if you want to join us for the next pickleball system class, make sure you act soon and don't wait too long. All right, let's jump into the podcast and get ourselves some pickleball therapy. So what do we mean when we talk about gatekeeping? Gatekeeping is such an important thing to learn how to do, right? So it's an important skill for us to work on. And the reason it's important is, and you'll understand it better as we go through this, it's so important because you need to take care of your own journey, right? Just like you take care of your own life, you make decisions, for instance, on what you eat, right? Or what you watch on television or who you listen to and things like that. So you gatekeep a lot of things in your life. But what happens in pickleball oftentimes, we see players who want to improve. They're intent on improving, right? And as I always say during the podcast, if you listen to this podcast, we know that you're more than just a casual pickleball player. So you're intent on improving or intent on having a better relationship with pickleball, right? A fuller, more well-rounded relationship with pickleball. And what happens is you'll get information, could be digital, right? You get a video, it comes across your feed, or you get something in your email inbox, or someone at the court says something to you. And as well-meaning as the author of that information may be, right? The player at the court that's just trying to help you out, it's really important for you to be the master of your own information gate, if you will, right? For you to gatekeep that information. And what we recommend is that first thing you need to do is you need to evaluate the source of that information, right? Now, there are some sources that'll be a little more difficult to figure out, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first thing you need to do is if you don't know this person and you haven't heard of them before and you just get a video from them, and nowadays there's videos on YouTube, CJ and I look at them and we're like, we don't know who these people are, right? And they may very well be good and they may very well know what they're talking about. But as soon as we see a video like that or information like that, the radar goes up, right? The red flag goes up and you say, wait a minute, I got to really make sure that this is correct before I follow up on it more. If you get information from CJ and myself, and say you get information from someone like a Nicole Havlicek or a Simone Jardim or somebody like that, you look at that and you go, that's a reputable source. That's somebody who's probably giving me information that I can use. So now your guard goes down a little bit, right? In terms of at least being open to the author of the information. But you still have to make sure, or at least think about, is this information right for me, right? Is this information create it for me? And is it going to not just create it for you, but that's a little bit egotistical, right? To think it's created for us. But is it information that is applicable to me and where I am currently in my pickleball game. Because oftentimes what we see pickleball players who receive information and it's coming from a reasonable source. And it's not that the information is necessarily incorrect. It's that the information is not correct for you or for you right now. Those are different options, right? And so that's part of the gatekeeping process as well. And so, how do you then decide what to let in and what to perhaps bring into your game? What we suggest is that, particularly if you're in a state where you're not really sure, is that you look for something that's a little bit more maybe structured or a little more of a path, right, that you can walk. And frankly, that's one of the main reasons why CJ and I created the pickleball system that I mentioned earlier in the opening, was to help pickleball players avoid this, I don't know what to do, right? I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure who to listen to. I'm not sure what information to listen to from even the people who know what they're talking about, the players who know their coaches, I should say, who know what they're talking about. And so something like the pickleball system, right, whether it's a system or something like that, if it's designed to give you the tools that you need and you decide to use, somebody else's program, whether it's, a Nicole or a Hele or, somebody like that, then what you want to do is once you've made a commitment to that program, you stick with that program. We're partial to the pickleball system. I can tell you from our experiences with our students, we know it works. The feedback we get from our students is that when they actually do it, right, when they focus on it and spend time on the system to learn it, their results are just outstanding, right? So that's an example of how you can use information in a more organized fashion, right? It's created in a way that's designed to help you process or progress down the path. Another thing that we do inside the system, and again, you can check other programs and see if they have this kind of a thing. I'm pretty sure we're the only ones that do this, but we have a success path inside of our system. And the reason we do that is because we want you to be able to tailor the information that's inside our pickleball system to best suit where you're at right now. Just to give you like overall context, like the pickleball system has 150 or so videos, right? I think a little more. So it's 150 videos. Well, I don't care where you're at in the game. You cannot process 150 videos, right now, right? You can't just say, okay, here's 150 videos, let me do it. So what you do is, first of all, you get inside the system, you get them in a organized fashion delivered to you with the oversight of CJ and myself, with the coaching sessions that happen and things like that. So there's a system, not just to the whole thing, but to how we deliver the videos to you. And also you have a success path. So you take those pieces and now you're able to look inside of the stuff the teachings that are inside the system and decide this is what applies to me and this is what I can wait on. And so if you don't have that ability right now, because you're still in the learning process, then you're going to be able to do that better. Or you're going to benefit more from something like the pickleball system to help you out. If you're not in a place where you can commit to something like the pickleball system, that's okay. But what you want to do then is you want to make sure, A, that the information you're getting is from a reputable source. That's always going to be a thing. And number two is the information I'm getting something that makes sense? And the way you know it makes sense is if it's something that you've heard. For instance, let's say, again, you hear like a Nicole Havlicek say something, and then you already go, okay, I know Nicole and she's good. And then I heard CJ say the same thing. Now you're like, okay, I'm good, right? I heard CJ say it. I heard Nicole say it. I feel like there's consistency there. Let's do this. But the next part is that it's from a reputable source. It's good information, right? Now, does it apply to my game? So you need to think about that some. And you need to say, is this something that right now will help me in my pickleball journey, right? Will advance me or move me forward in my pickleball journey? If you answer all those questions, yes, then you take that thing, that item, whatever it is, and you lock it into your program, right? You say, this is what I'm going to do. And then what you're going to do is you're going to work on that thing until you feel more comfortable with that thing, right? With that skill or technique or strategy, whatever it is. And once you get better with it, I want to say master. Master was the word I was reaching for, but that's a little bit, you don't need to master it. You just need to feel more comfortable with it and also feel like you're gaining the upper hand in that area, right? So I feel good with it. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing it better. Then what you do is you go through the same process again, right? Look for the information, make sure it's reputable, make sure it's correct, and then make sure that it applies to your game. And that's what you're going to do over and over again. Again, I'm gonna mention the system just to kind of explain how that works in our world, so you understand how we did this and how it works. So what we did is we did that process, right, of good information. Does it apply? And we just did it over and over again in all the different parts of pickleball. And what do? We built the system. So that's the process that we undertook to build the system. You would just be doing it, one piece at a time. And again, you can do it. It's just you need to make sure that you're following these steps. What you want to avoid is just simply listening to the last thing that you heard on a YouTube video or the last thing you were told on the court by somebody else. Again, as well-meaning as they may be about it, you don't want to just take that information and then say, okay, I got to apply that to my game, because you're just going to be in this relatively nightmarish, just cycle, right? It's like CJ calls it like the YouTube hamster wheel, where you just you're spinning around, you're chasing one thing after the other, and you just never really end up making progress because you're just spinning in a circle. So use the process that I'm talking about here, gatekeep your information, and what you're going to find is you'll have a lot less frustration, and you'll actually make forward progress down your path. All right, in the riff, we're going to talk about achievability, a really important concept that I think, again, we try to communicate to you as much as we can, and it's something that if you really get your arms around this concept of achievability, the sky's the limit with your pickleball. Stay tuned to the riff.
Pickleball, like life, has inflection points. Those times when the light bulbs just go on and you see everything better. It's the same with pickleball. Sometimes those light bulbs will go on and you're going to play better. If you're ready to turn on the lights of pickleball, join us inside the pickleball system. Class is open for registration. It's only a limited amount of time. I don't know when you're listening to the podcast, so I can't tell you exactly when, but it's pretty soon. I'm going to put a link below. Go to thepickleballsystem.com and join us for our next class. Let CJ and I show you how to turn on the lights. We'll see you in class.
So achievability, what are we talking about here with achievability? We have a lot of words that end in "ity," right? We have intentionality, we have, things like that. So we're going to talk about achievability right now. And achievability variability was the other one I was thinking about. So variability, intentionality, we like words like that. So achievability is the idea that if you are intent in improving, right, or on improving, if you're keen on improvement, you want to grow in your pickleball, you just want to develop more as a player, right? It doesn't mean necessarily that you have to advance in levels and things like that. You're just trying to make forward progress, right? You're trying to develop yourself as a player, and that's something of interest to you. What we want you to know is that it is, in fact, achievable that you do so, okay? Now, I can't promise you're going to become a 5-0. I can't promise you're going to be a 4-5. I'm not saying you can't. You very well can, right? And we may be able to do that if you apply yourself and spend the time and energy to do so. But I can tell you for sure that you can make forward progress in your pickleball game. In other words, that you can, from wherever you are right now, wherever you stand right now in your pickleball, you can move forward down a path that results in you playing not just better pickleball, more confident pickleball, right? More knowledgeable pickleball, where you just understand everything better on the court. All of those things are achievable. Okay. Now, how do you achieve it? The way you achieve it is you use the gatekeeping that we mentioned in the main part of the podcast today, right? And then the key is take that piece that you're working on and lock it in, right? Lock it in, meaning like don't deviate from it until you have improved with it. Give yourself, you want to enter into a positive feedback loop, right? Where you are picking a thing, you are spending some time devoted to improving in that area, you are seeing the results of that improvement, and then you're adding another thing and doing the same thing over and over again. But you have to understand, or you should understand, that what you are trying to accomplish is in fact achievable. Going back to achievability, because what you want to make sure you're telling your mind is that you can do the things that you're setting out to do. Whether it's, beating the banger, whether it's reducing the errors in your game, whether it's just, again, understanding the game better as you go out there to play, whether it's winning more games, right? All of those things are achievable. as long as you follow a process, which the gatekeeping that we talked about earlier and locking something in are two important pieces of a process. There's some other pieces, right? In terms of like, if you're working on mechanics, you need repetition. If you're working on strategy, you need to understand the strategy clearly and then work on that while you're playing, but with a very clear focus. So there's other pieces to this puzzle in terms of how you get from point A to point B. And I'm going to say it again. The system helps you with that, right? So that's why, I'm going to die on the system hill if I have to, because I can tell you that the way it's built is it has all of these pieces in it, and it works you through them in a way that you don't have to worry about, you're not going to get results, because inside the system, everything is in there. You got to put in the work. It's not going to do it for you, but you'll know exactly what you need to do and the order you need to do it in. But if you do those things, whether it's inside the system or outside the system, what you will find is, and what you need to understand is, that your goals in pickleball are in fact achievable. Put that in your mind, understand it's achievable, and you'll get there with some work. All right, so that's the podcast this week. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you enjoyed the podcast, please rate and review it wherever you listen to it. If you can subscribe to it on the platform you're listening to, it helps get our podcast to other players and helps us spread the word, which is what we're all about. And as always, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with your friends. If you enjoyed the podcast, they probably will too. Have a great week and a great start to your 2023, and we'll see you next week.